Jai Hind, Jai Shri Ram and Jai Bhim everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Dalits of Hinduism series. This series is a humble effort made by us based on several books including Dalits of Hinduism authored by my guru Sri Sanjeev Nevar, Breaking India authored by Sri Rajiv Malhotra and Sri Aravinda Neelakanthan, Annihilation of Caste by Baba Saheb, and several of our ancient Puranas, Itihasas and other authentic sources including Lessons learnt under the tutelage of renowned gurus to understand the role of the so-called Dalits in Sanatana Dharma. Historically, the Dalits' social identity was classified as Chandalas, Antyajas, Panchamas and Aspurushas as per Emic and Swadeshi texts. Subsequently, in everyday parlance, with regional contexts, Dalits were identified or are identified as Malas, Madigas, Relli, Chindu and Mashtila in Telugu, or Paraya and Parayan in Tamil, Mahar and Matang in Marathi, and so on. The colonial state produced equally demeaning nomenclature as depressed classes and scheduled castes. M.K. Gandhi patronized Dalits as Harijans within the large project of assimilation, an appellate that also occurred a subtle layer of humiliation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a Muslim disciple who converted to Vaishnavism. Mahaprabhu named him Haridas, the servant of Lord Sri Hari. Was M.K. Gandhi also using the nomenclature Harijan due to similar mentality or inspiration? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. In contrast, the identities envisioned and constructed by the Dalits themselves, such as Adi Hindu, Adi Andhra, and so-called Dalit, were imagined as part of the emancipatory struggles. The word Dalit itself seems to stem from a colonial nomenclature as it came through movements rooted in Western ideologies such as Marxist and social movements, which sees the world through the lens of caste struggle or the oppressor worldview. Retired Major General G.D. Bakshi wrote about the divide and rule policy adopted by the British. I quote him, "Caste was a primary weapon and fault line the British used to divide and rule India for over 200 years. They did it with a vengeance after the 1857 uprising. In 1872, Sir John Risley held the first caste-based consensus in India. He said, 'As long as there will be caste, there will be no India.'" So who was Risley? H. Risley, the president of the Asiatic Society of Bengal and director of ethnography for India from 1901 to 1909, had an understanding of castes based on anthropometric measures. Under his supervision, caste was implemented in the census in ethnological and anthropometric terms that neutralized and radicalized the category. Risley revised how caste was envisaged in the census. After independence, politicians surpassed the British in using caste for political mobilization. Caste would have withered and died away due to industrialization and urbanization, but our politicians kept it alive. They deepened the caste fault lines by putting tags of reservation on caste identities to deepen them at the cost of the idea of India. In fact, the very notion of treating different caste identities as the basis for forming groups can be challenged. Caste itself is a disputed conceptual category in discussing the Indian social context, being imported by the British colonial anthropologists with a view to racially categorize, divide, and then ultimately rule over the Indian population. It certainly helped the British colonial agenda, which intimately colluded with Christian missionaries to use caste as a conceptual framework to categorize the Indian population and explain the society, for it yielded certain theoretical advantages for the colonial administration and Christian proselytization of the people of the Indian subcontinent. Contemporary sociologists acknowledge that the requirement for social inclusion of the oppressed arises only when there is a suspicion of their social exclusion. There are also several historical testimonies of how caste, a predominant colonial construct, was explicated and perpetuated into academia and public discourse by Christian evangelism, communism, Marxism, and Dravidian identity politics, which look at the Indian history only through the glasses of a disputed historical framework of Aryan Dravidian struggle. The Indian academia post the British independence was usurped by the westernized and elitist Nehruvians to pander to the Marxist ideology. In our next episode, we shall discuss in detail the interpolation of Manusmriti and find out what Dr. Ambedkar, or Baba Saheb as we know him affectionately today, really thought about these interpolated texts. See you then. Jai Hind.